Hi, good morning everyone. This is Liz Davis. I'm a nutritionist and I specialise in digestive health for busy women. So I help busy women fix their reflux, bloating, painful digestion, any kind of related hormone problems or chronic fatigue and so on. And I do this with state-of-the-art gut testing, hormone testing, any other kind of testing that we need, and then dietary and lifestyle upgrades to gently bring things back into balance for you and get you feeling back to normal and how you should be. So bloating is a really common issue, and most of the clients I see, or most of the people I speak to, certainly do have bloating to some degree or another. And there can be a whole host of different reasons why you might be bloated, why you might get bloated. So what I'll do is run through a few of those reasons, and then afterwards a couple of quick tips for you to try and get on top of bloating. Of course, it's all going to come down to what's causing it in the first place, though, as to whether or not these solutions are effective for you. Okay, so first up then, what causes bloating? The first one, it may be that you are not digesting carbohydrates efficiently. So this can sometimes be alleviated by going on something called the low FODMAP diet, which you've probably heard of. And basically all this is doing is taking out the harder to digest carbohydrates from your diet. So the trouble is with doing this is that it's taking out a lot of awfully, really kind of healthy foods from your diet. So we don't want to be doing it for too long. It's only ever going to be a short-term solution while we get to the root cause of what's happening and then fix the issue, so then you can start eating all these foods again. But basically all that means is that your gut is a bit, for whatever reason, is struggling a bit to digest all those, harder to digest carbohydrate foods. So next up, you could have the same issue but with protein. Maybe you're not digesting your protein particularly well, and this maybe is down to the fact that you haven't got enough stomach acid, or maybe your enzyme output isn't where it should be. Again, so there's lots of things we can do to fix this, not least by taking an enzyme supplement or something similar. Next up, you may have a disturbance in your gut microbiome. So that's the levels of bacteria you have living in your gut. So you want them there, you want your beneficial ones there in good numbers. You don't want too many of those less desirable species though, because they can cause problems for you. And some of the nasty ones can actually, do a bit of damage to the gut lining as well, which can also contribute to bloating and other digestive issues. They can also stop you absorbing nutrients effectively and things like that as well. So if you suspect that, it's probably going to be a good idea for you really to test your gut and find out what exactly is going on in there to cause these issues. Yeast overgrowth as well, stuff like candida can cause a lot of bloating and other issues besides. So next up, you could actually have an actual allergy or an intolerance. So often that's the route we go down initially. As soon as we start to get a bit of bloating or painful digestion or whatever, we tend to assume it's an intolerance to a certain food or an allergy. So we end up taking different foods out of our diet, but it's often not the case. It's not the case that it is a particular food that's causing the problem. Sometimes it is. So the main offenders in that case are usually things like gluten or dairy foods or wheat foods. Can be causing problems for us, again because they're high in FODMAP, so they're just a bit harder to digest, but also because you can actually be intolerant to them as well, to varying degrees. So if you suspect this is the issue for you, it's a good idea to maybe just remove foods from your diet for a couple of weeks and see if that fixes the problem. And then you can reintroduce it as well. Just test it there a little bit to see if the symptoms come back when you reintroduce it. Obviously, don't do that if you know you've got a bad intolerance or an allergy or whatever. But if you suspect a food, that's the best way to, just give it a bit of a challenge and see what happens there. Dehydration as well is a big one for bloating. So you might find if you do suffer with bloating that it gets a bit worse. Say if you've been on a night out, for example, you may have had a few more salty snacks than usual, maybe a few more glasses of wine than usual. All those things contribute to dehydration. And can make bloating a lot worse. So although it does seem counterintuitive, having a bit more water going through your system is going to really help you in those kind of situations. The biggie where bloating is concerned is SIBO. So the telltale signs for me is if you've got this bloating that starts off not too bad at the beginning of the day, and by about 3 o'clock in the afternoon you can look about and feel about 6 months pregnant. So that would be telling me that you maybe have SIBO going on. So SIBO is where you have bacteria growing in the small intestine where it should be in the large intestine. So that can cause, a lot of discomfort, bloating, IBS symptoms as well. So that's worth exploring. So what about alleviating it then? So if you have bloating, there's a few things you can do, but obviously it's going to come down to why you've got the bloating in the first place. So establishing that root cause is all important when it comes down to bloating and why you're getting it. So you want to be aiming for about 25 to 30 grams of fibre a day. And you should be hitting that target if you're someone who eats plenty of fruits and vegetables, legumes such as lentils and so on, and also whole grains if you tolerate those. If you know you're not doing that, you're unlikely to be hitting those targets. So what I would do in those kind of circumstances is increase the levels very slowly, because if you start to increase too quickly, then that can also bloat you conversely. So slow and steady is the name of the game with increasing fibre. Again, if there's an underlying issue, you may not tolerate all that fibre anyway. So it gets quite complicated, but that's what you should be aiming for. And if your gut is healthy, you should be able to tolerate that quite easily. Some people find it very beneficial to start taking a probiotic or a prebiotic. That can help in a lot of cases. Sometimes it can make the situation worse though. So if you take a probiotic and it starts to make your symptoms worse, again, we're talking about probably a SIBO thing going on there, or maybe some bad dysbiosis or something, because you're adding more bacteria into a situation where you don't want more bacteria. So again, that's it's all giving clues there. If it doesn't work for you, then that's a big hint that there's something a bit deeper going on. Have lots of herbs and spices handy in your kitchen. They are great. I mean, especially things like chamomile tea. It's just brilliant for so many different things. So if you're feeling a bit stressed or you can't sleep, that impacts your gut negatively as well. But not only that, but chamomile does directly really help soothe your gut as well for lots of different reasons, and also lots of other herbs as well, like ginger is fabulous, or rosemary. All those kind of things are fabulous. You can make them into an infusion or add them to your food. They're really great for bloating as well. And definitely, last up, reduce your stress levels as far as you can. So if you find stress is an issue for you and you're bloating more when you're stressed, because often that does happen, then getting a handle on it and doing whatever works for you. So be that meditation, journaling, or exercise, or whatever, playing music, all those things can work to really help to bring stress levels down. Okay, so I hope you found that useful. That's a few reasons you may get bloating and a few things that you can try at home to start to alleviate things for you. Okay, I hope you found it useful, and if you did, do like and share, and I'll see you next time. Bye.